Shut up and sit down.
Whoa, welcome back to Off the Ropes with your main man over here, Kane Super Hot Snooker, and the man from Nolans, the Faded Saint. And we're here today to talk to you about, actually, count them, three. So I said three pay-per-view main events that happened over the last month and a half, I should say, realistically, since we last talked to you folks. And it's going to be an interesting one because we actually have a very special segment for today. We're going to be introducing something called the Lightning Round, which I hope you will enjoy. And if anything, give us more feedback on it when we do, all six of you out there. Now, as far as it goes, when it comes to today's big thing, we have Night of Champions, and we have what I call the It Happened in Madison Square Garden, the Road to Hell Tour, which, by the way, I have no idea why it's called Brock Lesnar's Road to Hell Tour when the guy wasn't even the main event, but I digress. We'll talk about that more later. And, of course, the one that I really care about, my peoples, the people I love the most, the NXT Takeover Respect, which, by the way, is the best kind of name you could ever give, because I can tell you this much, I got nothing but respect for those people. So, we'll kick it away when it comes to what's going down. Give us the digs on what's good. Faded Saint, how you doing?
All right, I thought we lost you there for a little while. I know you were trying to beam in from parts unknown, but you couldn't get the three guys up there.
I actually had to hire from outside, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
Oh,
I know
wow.
that you were digging into the NOC.
Is it union labor?
I should say it's Papa Snooki later.
Oh, okay.
Labor kind of thing, you know what I'm saying? But he doesn't want me to talk about it because if he
Nope.
does, then I'm gonna have to get a beating. I don't want a beating right now, so I'm
No,
good.
no. But yes, we have we have Night of Champions. You'll hear our voices on that, and God, that horrible MSG. That MSG event was MSG. But anyway, and well, Takeover Respect, which happened last night. But it's been a while. We're back as promised, and we're gonna jump right into Night of Champions 2015, where we get our pre-show match, the Cosmic Wasteland, which is the team. Which, by the way, WWE owes us some money. Did I not?
Damn right. We talked about this.
Did I not say this on the last podcast that freaking Stardust needed to grab up the Ascension because they look tailor-made to be his henchmen? But it was the Cosmic Wasteland versus the Lucha Heroes. That was our pre-show. Lucha Heroes are, by the way, Neville and the Lucha Dragons, which is kind of a weird pairing because they're just a bunch of small, fast guys.
Why can't they just call it Mucha Lucha already? That could have been the perfect thing for them, and it would have been amazing.
Copyright. This was that's pretty much what it came down to, is copyrights. This was a fast-paced. They should have put this as the No, I take that back. The opening match on the show was actually pretty good, but this was a good, appetizer. Neville and Stardust are money. Lucha Dragons are money. The Ascension are there, but they made a decent go of it, and I especially like the ending where Stardust used, which one was it? Was it Connor? Was it Victor? Master Blaster number 2. Basically, he just used him as a weapon and managed to get Dark Matter for the pinfall, which, by the way, it is not called, Michael Cole, the Queen's Crossbow. Yes, I know that is the technical name for it, but that has no place with the gimmick of Stardust. Dark Matter. It's called Dark Matter. Get it right, Cole. Get it right.
I felt like they were like a little bit of to try to do from playbook from like Megatron or something, where he turns himself into a gun and he just goes and uses that as a weapon, and then someone else uses it for him. That's pretty much what's going on with the Cosmic Wasteland. But I do feel like I think I should send my PayPal account over to Paul over there, Mr. Triple H. Maybe he can give us some money for that little idea that we gave him.
No kidding, man. Man, they're just ripping us off left and right. But yep, Cosmic Wasteland over Neville and the Lucha Dragons. The match was about 10 minutes long, but it was a good opener, which led us into Z pay-per-view proper. And right off the bat, we get the WWE Intercontinental Championship match. KO Kevin Owens versus the Ryback.
Now, I just want to point out something real quick.
Sure.
Kevin Owens is probably one of the most fantastic wrestlers, despite his little persona character that he tries to play in the ring when it comes to I don't care, I want to fight, I do this for money kind of thing.
Meanest Canadian on the face of the planet.
and apparently based on Renee Young, the worst Canadian because he doesn't like beer or Canadian hockey. So we got a problem with him. But anyway, besides that, I have to say though, I'm afraid he got Cena'd, or maybe he got Rusev's, whatever one you want to use here, because he's mid-carding like a beast when he was doing so well against John Cena back in the couple pay-per-views ago. And this match proves it, because this match was, for Kevin Owens, not such an enlightened show. And I don't know if it was because of Ryback, or maybe because of the fact that they tried to use some meaningless crap heel excuse of him rake-eyeing him at the end. All I know is when it comes to what's going on with KO, I'm glad he has the belt, but let's give the belt to someone else and have him start doing some high card fighting.
Well, here's the thing. I can say without a shadow of a doubt it was because it was up against Ryback. Now, Ryback has a great look. He has a very positive attitude. He's a really positive dude. By the way, if you guys out there have not watched the Table for Three Intercontinental Championships, which is him, Dolph Ziggler, and Daniel Bryan doing like a little casual interview amongst each other over dinner, hilarious to hear Ryback accusing Daniel Bryan and Cody Rhodes of being the biggest locker room bullies ever. But I digress. It's hilarious. But it was Ryback, because Ryback is slow and plodding, and I want to like Ryback. I really do. They want him so badly to be Goldberg, but he's not. And his matches, his run as Intercontinental Champion has not been very good. Now, they've put him up against Miz and Show. So, you're only good as your opponent. And Kevin Owens made Ryback look really good. Ryback made Kevin Owens look not so good. And that, I don't get, have we transported to the 80s? It's exactly like you said, with that eye rake. Like, oh no, he raked the eye and he managed to pick up the pinfall there. Like, really? Really? Do you guys not remember the Attitude Era that happened between here and there? Like, do you not remember, chair shots and barbed wire and stuff like that? An eye rake? Really?
Well, I guess that's what you could do for a PG era.
I guess.
Chair shot.
I am a fan of Kevin Owens. But what they need to do is they need to do Kevin Owens like with the IC belt, just exactly what he did with John Cena, only having him come out on top against some better caliber opponents. I'm talking Cesaro, but I really want Cesaro to do better. Like if we could get like maybe a Randy Orton in there, and we did get one guy on my list, but that comes later in the show. But I think Kevin Owens is a positive step in rebuilding the Intercontinental Championship as long as he doesn't get injured, like tends to happen with the Intercontinental Champions. 3 in a row for those keeping track at home. Bad News Barrett, who I've checked a dozen times. He is not fired, but he is going by his real name on his Twitter, so I thought of that for a while. Broke his arm. Daniel Bryan with his concussions. Ryback with a staph infection. That's where we are with the Intercontinental belts. I honestly think Kevin Owens is probably the only person in the company who can rehabilitate this belt at this point.
If that's the case, we should rename it not the IC title, but the ER title.
How about the Icy Hot title? Because that's what you're going to need after you get it.
Even better, ICU title.
Ooh! The ICU title.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna go, but when it comes to that, the match was decent.
The match was decent. As long as you get the title, you get free IVs for life.
And I have to say, for NOC though, when it comes to NOC that Night of Champions, that was a good start off because it needed it for the crap show that happened right afterwards, which was Mr. Dolph Ziggler, aka Bumpmaster 2000, versus Rusev, which if you ever try to say his name on autocorrect, he turns to Russell. So we're gonna call it BM 2000 and Russell match, Part 3.
God damn it. uh,
Now, Faded Sane,
um,
you've expressed your hatred for this gimmick that's going on between the love quartet that's going on right now, I should say, between those two and their side chicks. Uh-oh. I know what that means, folks. That means you need a 2-drink minimum just to get this conversation going.
can we not anymore with these two? Like, really, can we not? Like, first of all, Dolph Ziggler shows up like bargain basement Shawn Michaels. Like, literally, he went to Shawn Michaels, like, yard sale and just picked up a bunch of stuff. No Lana. Rusev, God, Rusev is very rapidly becoming the next Bad News Barrett. Like, who has he made mad at this point? Like, Cena just sucked the excitement out of him. I hate this freaking angle. I hate it. 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 But for the sake of reporting on what actually happened, it was the same match you saw last month. It was the same match you saw on Raw. It was the same match you saw on Raw 3 months ago when Dolph Ziggler was going through his contract negotiations. It is the same damn match. Only difference, Ziggler wins over Rusev thanks to a freaking shoe.
The shoe of death, by the way.
The shoe of death. And they tried something with Summer Rae and earrings or whatever.
I still don't understand that part because I really like to know, was that because he got horny and because Lana wasn't around, or were they trying to make him her subterfuge against him? I don't know, because clearly they didn't do anything with it for that Night of Champions match.
You know what?
And even worse is that Raw afterwards, which we'll talk later about, folks, about what's going on with that too. It all makes no sense. But I can promise you, when it comes to what's going on, that match, I think we shouldn't talk much about it because all it was is a bump show just to get to the other event, which was a lot sweeter.
Yeah, it's. I can say with authority that it is a thing that happened. And then moving on, we had what is very quickly becoming our favorite part of the night. Very, very quickly. If it's not already our favorite part of the night. And that was the WWE Tag Team Championship match. Our boys, the Dudley Boys, straight out of Dudleyville, going up against quite possibly one of the best new tag teams of the last decade. And that bears repeating. The New Day, the way that they have reinvented themselves after they were initially starting to flop as heels. And a lot of that credit goes to Xavier Woods just being just the most obnoxious freaking manager on the face of the planet. The New Day is the best tag team of the last 10 years. I thought it was going to be
And
tight.
it's
Go,
no, I felt like I needed to cut you off just a little bit,
go ahead.
Daphne. And I wanted, because I don't really consider Xavier Woods a manager. I know he's the managing role as far as a lot of things he's done, but let's face it, he actually is a decent wrestler as well. So I wouldn't even call this a tag team. I would call this more like a faction, just like back in the day when DX was, back in the day when you had the NWO. It's just that it's just three very talented wrestlers coming together, making it hilarious for everybody, especially the way that they do all their vignettes in between matches. They just know how to get the crowd at them.
That
And that's
freaking
the best part.
trombone. That freaking trombone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
This was a great match because, A, you got the duds back. And I didn't know this, but apparently Velvet Sky, who's one of the good female wrestlers from over in TNA, she's no longer with TNA, is Bubba's in real life girlfriend, so maybe we might see her show up. We'll talk about that later. But I mean, the duds are the duds, and Bubba doesn't look fat; he looks buff. And Devon always looked buff, and just Kofi and bringing the speed, Biggie with the strength, Xavier just blowing that horn and yelling. No, I didn't have a problem with this the way it went on Night of Champions. I loved the match, and you saw the ending coming a mile away, which was Xavier Woods coming in, breaking up the count, getting the DQ, Dudley Boys win, New Day retains. Which led, of course, to the crowd-pleasing Xavier Woods meets Table Woods. 3D through the table. excellent match. Great to see the Duds back. Great to see them trying to elevate the New Day. I was okay with the ending. I got not okay with the ending later on, a week or so later, but we'll get to that later. What are your thoughts on the match?
All I can say right now is save the tables. Has to be the best proactive feud style between two tag teams I've seen in a while.
Table poachers. This sound. Tell me if I'm wrong or not, but tell me if that does not sound like something Edge and Christian would have done in their heyday.
I think so. I think they took a little bit of the playbook from them when it comes to the end. Because here's the thing, folks. The tag team division, there's some good tag team players. But there's not that much goodness in the tag team feuding. They usually like, I don't like this guy, let's attack him, let's fight. I don't like this tag team, let's not like him, let's tag and fight. But this has actually gotten a little bit more personal, folks, because now they're actually using a feud between the Dudleys and the New Day. See, the New Day is antagonizing the Dudleys with the whole save the tables thing and all that stuff. So the stretch here is how it goes down. Is that it has to be the most favorable tag team feuds I've seen in a while.
Well, as opposed to when they had like the Usos cycling through the tag team du jour, and they would stretch that out for 3 months. It was just because. With the New Day, there's an actual reason why this is going on, and you don't mind if you, as opposed to before, where you would see every combination possible like 18 times. I wouldn't care if I saw every possible combination of these 5 individuals. I would love to see them bring Spike back to even up the odds. I am calling it right now.
He feigned it. I just want to let you know. I looked into that. He's too busy with his newfound job.
I think the E could probably get him on a limited basis to do like a quick 1 month run.
His wife insisted that he retire.
Oh, well, if his wife insisted, I didn't even know he was married, but if he's got a wife, then we both know he's not the boss of him, so we'll see.
Well, I can tell you this, it was no Molly Holly, I'll tell you that.
It was good to see her on the table for 3 for the Divas one.
The newest one's not that bad either. I don't know if you know about the new one.
Is that the indie special with Owens and Cesaro and
exactly.
Ambrose? I liked that.
Yeah, but to get back to the audience here, when it comes to how everything goes here, I have to say though, when it comes to the Dudleys, with despite of their little Road to Hell match situation, I love what's going on. But I have to ask you this big question here.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Faded Saint.
Yep.
The Usos. You know that Jimmy hurt his leg, and he hasn't been wrestling because of that. The other one hasn't wrestled either. Do you think we would have had this New Day Revolution and the Dudleys and all that if the Usos were still wrestling?
No.
Do you think that? I think, and you know why I say that? Because I think that when it comes to the WWE Universe, I think when they have a panic situation where their storyline gets botched by an injury, they do a lot better at trying to get a reroute to the story because I feel like they have less time to figure it out. And sometimes the best sparks come from the instant ones. And I think those get shot down a lot more when you have time on their hands. So,
absolutely not.
kudos.
It wouldn't have happened because the tag team division, and you can see that we've talked about this in the past in some of the first podcasts that we did, was pretty much just the Usos cycling through whatever tag team. They may trade title shots, they may not. But for the most part, it was just the Usos. The Usos had become the John Cena of the tag division. But they had to do something else, and that's when you saw Kidd and Cesaro. And I hope Tyson Kidd comes back off of that injury. He may not end up getting tagged with Cesaro because Cesaro has been putting on some pretty good matches.
But it's also a perfect example of another botchery that happened. An injury happened, and Cesaro gets set free as a singles wrestler, and look at him now.
I cannot for the life of me understand why he is not featured more on the show.
Let's not talk about that because that's going to be another 20-minute rant from me, and we talked about plenty of times about how Cesaro needs to get
we've already got a couple of rants coming up.
And you know what sucks is that I think we only went into 2 matches into NOC and we're already ranting about that.
3
I think
matches.
I think because I'm trying to avoid another rant from you because I know the next match you came up was not one of your favorites.
That was the WWE Divas Championship match. That would be Charlotte with Team PCB versus the Bella Empire. More specifically, the champion Nikki Bella. I can't. I can't. I Kane. I can't. This match was goddamn near unwatchable. It was damn near unwatchable. Charlotte won. And like I predicted would happen the moment Nikki Bella passed
Well,
AJ Lee.
let's look on the bright side. I told you this before we even before this event happened, before the next night of Raw happened, that they just needed to get her to win the thing, that the record thingy, so that way they WWE can close their doors on the vendetta against AJ Lee and CM Punk, and move on. And we knew that Nikki Bella was not a fantastic wrestler to begin with. She's hot. No, in my eyes, she's ridiculously gorgeous, and in many ways, I love watching her. I prefer to watch her sister when it comes to wrestling. I also prefer to watch a lot of the girls that have been boosted into Raw, injected into SmackDown, which is the NXT girl, Sasha, because that's my girl right there.
Hey, you remember
And
when Team Bad was a part of the Divas Revolution?
well, I was going to get to that point,
Me
and that
neither.
is that my point here is that when it comes to these wrestlers, these female stars, they were doing so well on the run track, getting this up and going, and then of course it got sold into immediate halt when when Charlotte decided to win the women's belt, or I call it the women's belt, but we all know it's the Divas Championship here, folks. And in this case, when it comes to that, they're losing out on good opportunities now because, as I predicted, as soon as they were done with that, they were going to go with a different situation, and that was Paige going against everyone because she's a jealous bitch. And I can tell you this much: as much as I can understand the storyline, what I don't get is the attitude behind it. Because right now, Charlotte, they could have done it the whole high road. They could have done it just like NXT. They could have done it where a little feud, a little understanding, and a little respect, like for example between Sasha and Bayley on NXT. They love each other and they respect each other and they're willing to wrestle each other in a very good match because they know they're good, not because they hate each other. And that's what they're doing. They're doing the whole hatred route with Paige when they could easily do the I respect you so much, Charlotte, that I want that belt no matter what. And I will fight you all the way to the top just to get it from you. And it doesn't mean that I can't be partners with you in anything else. Because I respect this, and this is the only. And they could have done a million different things. Faded Saint. They could have done a million different things in the respect route, the whole heroes of gods route kind of situation. Because it's only one belt for them. They can't do a women's tag team like in the 80s. They can't do a women's light heavyweight like they tried to do in the 70s. These things are not routed. So they only have one belt to work with. Make it a ecosystem of dominancy of who's the better wrestler, not because who's the better to bitch fit about it.
That would involve thought. And I'm gonna weigh in on this, but I'm saving this for the end of the show. Um, I I mean, they just basically had to hamstring, quite literally, Charlotte for Nikki to keep up, and that's what made this match so god awful. And you can hear it in my voice. You guys can't see me, but he can see me.
Oh, I thought you were John Cena. I can't see you.
I mean, you guys can hear it. Let's just do the next match, man.
I don't blame you.
Which doesn't get much better now that I'm looking at what the next match was. Oh,
Well, you talking about the Wyatt fam versus Shield 2J?
yeah. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it was like, who's going to be their partner? And I will give them props. We both thought it was going to be Randy Orton.
Oh yeah.
Everyone thought it was going to be Randy Orton.
My mama thought.
Actually, I was having a discussion with my brother, and I want to pull up this text because I feel like this is the exact encapsulation because it wasn't, but the storyline since Randy Orton has come back and he is the other Shield guy. I mean, he's not Shield guy, but he's the other Shield guy. But my brother pretty much said, I'm super into Shield Wyatt, the Shield Wyatt feud, but I don't like the introduction of Randy Orton. It's not even me not liking him. I just think somebody better could fit that role unless he's pure Braun Strowsman fodder. And that's the truth. And that applies to this match as well because that's exactly what Jericho was. Pure fodder for Braun Strowman.
Mm-hmm.
It was a decent little match. I mean, Roman, they continue to push him to the stars. I don't think he's a bad wrestler. I just don't think he's quite on the level of Dean Ambrose and Chris Jericho. I don't think he's on the level of Luke Harper, who I think is the best wrestler out of his team. Bray's good. He's got a great character, and I'll give Braun Strowman this month much. He's basically just a guy who is, like Mark Henry, a world's strongest man, who I believe they've signed to a very lengthy contract like they did with Mark Henry. I don't know if you knew this. Mark Henry, when he originally signed with the WWE, signed a 10-year contract. Guaranteed.
Whoa.
Yeah. Henry's been taken care of. And he was not that great to begin either. But Braun Strowman, they've got him in the right place where he doesn't have to really say all that much, and they showcase him in a way that gives his strength. I'm surprised they never put him in NXT, but I can see why they did, because it wouldn't have been a surprise if they had done it.
Yep.
But in the end, Braun Strowman and his super hug of doom was a little bit too much for Chris Jericho, who got a little too uppity and tagged himself in when Roman probably had the match won, and hugged him to death. And then they did this weird thing at the end of the match where they were like, "Hey man, it sucks, but okay." And then Jericho just does the "I'm just gonna walk through you" and walks out, which is weird because those of us in the know, like you and me, we know that the MSG thing was the last thing that he had scheduled, and then he's going back to Fozzy to tour. Nice little match. Could have been better. Could have been better probably if they get somebody stable to anchor up that Shield 2.0, and if they actually did like Shield 2.0, like they bring Dean back in the black with the flak jacket and get like somebody. You know what? That might be a good thing for Tyler Breeze. They need to really do something with Tyler Breeze in NXT, or they just need to cut him.
Maybe.
I mean, I know that's against his character, but I kind of feel like they need somebody to be like a Braun Strowman for the Shield.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. We'll figure that out in the long run. I just hope that they just get rid of this whole feud to begin with, because it's. I feel like they're like, hey Roman, I know that you were a big deal for WrestleMania 30, and we were going to do everything we could possibly do to bump you, but hey, we don't need you right now, because we're going a whole different route because of hatred of fighting. That we're just going to give this guy the belt until forever. And we're just gonna keep you just in the sidelines versus this whole Wyatt crap.
Well, we know that they're not, because they're doing Bray and Roman Hell in a Cell.
Let's hope that's the last time.
It won't be.
Christmas. All right. Well, I can tell you this: much as the Divas match, this is much one of those things where I didn't care about either. So we shall move along to what I have to say is the funniest part of Night of Champions. I feel like it was Rollins beatdown 2015. And in a way, he got really mad because apparently we lost a good man that night afterwards. At least when it comes to wrestling botching.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
But first, I mean, it was time for the main events, and this was the build-up. Is that Seth had 2 titles? Yay, you won against John Cena, but it's Night of Champions, and every championship has to be defended. You called it on the last podcast. I said I was behind it when you called it, and that's what they did. WWE owes us more money. Anyway, so the first match was the WWE United States Championship match. John Cena versus Seth Rollins. And You knew
I'm
how it was
gonna.
going to end.
Well, we know how Super Cena works, but I can tell you this much: as far as it goes, I'm still gonna give him credit when credit's due. It was still a fantastic match, and I have to say, for Rollins being a chicken shit wrestler character when it comes to how he acts in the outside of wrestling, his last few matches and the last few pay-per-views have proven that he actually wants to wrestle.
I agree.
I'm glad they bumped the J&J BS and Kane being out of context in this before before that ending of NOC.
Um, so yeah, this is actually, and I know this is surprising, but this is actually one of the few instances where I did not. I think they did the right call, and they brought John Cena up on top. John Cena has done great things with the United States Championship match. Whether I like the fact that he just routinely beats everyone, you can't deny that the U.S. Championship is way more important than the IC Championship, and he has done tons, tons to rehabilitate that belt. And um, it was a great match, just like you said. Um, they wrestled their hearts out, and John Cena came out on top. Seth tried to snake out at that point, but then John Cena gave him an FU. I refuse to call it
Uh,
the AA. Gave him an FU out on the out on the ramp, threw him in, and then it was time for the main event, which was WWE World Heavyweight Championship match. That was Seth, of course, versus Sting, and Sting looked great. Sting looked great right up until he had taken a couple of those corner power bombs, and they actually had to stop the match at one point and check on him. And you know, props to Seth for trying to cover and just trying to keep getting at it and keep having the referee having to back him up just to kind of buy time. Uh, to Sting's credit, he finished the match.
yes, and also to go further than that, after the match, he admitted that he sandbagged by accident on one of the turnbuckle hits, and that's why he had a problem.
It was being reported that Seth was the cause of it and his negligence, but Seth, Sting, and I don't know if he's just trying to help out a young guy or a guy by taking the blame, or if it was actually the case. But you know, let's also keep in mind this is a man that's in his 50s, and I I can see why they went with this ending. This was going to be the ending regardless. I would have liked to have seen him won, even if they just gave it back to Seth the following night on Raw. Um, I feel like they should have given him this match since they, for reasons, jobbed him to trips back at WrestleMania.
Which, by the way, to me is still not the franchise versus franchise match that I believe should have happened.
No, it shouldn't. But we're probably that ship has probably already sailed. It's probably never going to happen. Just like the Dean Ambrose McFoley match that we'll never get to see. Um, Seth wins. And then we start getting into some wackiness. Oh no,
I
no,
consider
no,
it entertainment, good sir.
no, because there was something that happened. Seth wins. Sheamus runs out because that was the other tease we got, was that he was going to cash in his money in the bank, and before he can cash it in, because he bro kicked the crap out of Rollins.
No, let's not get PG now. He bro kicked the fuck out of Seth Rollins.
You can say a lot of things about Seth Rollins, but Seth Rollins sells like he is first in line at the buffet. I mean, seriously. And as he's cashing in, boom, you get the pyro, you hear the pipe organ, and then the Demon Kane, because we have to distinguish. The Demon Kane comes out, and he chokeslams Sheamus. He chokeslams Rollins, and we get the four posts exploding, and that's how we end Night of Champions.
Which I still like, by the way. I like the whole Demon Kane thing. And folks, when we get into it, I like the whole idea that they're doing afterwards.
I think it's hilarious what they're doing, and we'll touch a little bit upon it before we go to break. But go ahead.
No, I think I was gonna say after we hit break, folks, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the incidents that happened in Raw, the infamous and new talented Lightning Round, and then we're gonna get right into the main pay per view for me, NXT Respect.
Me too. Letter grade on the pay-per-view.
Ooh, I have to say B minus.
I hate to be Russia on this, but C.
See, I don't think I can give a pay per view event like that a C, only because of the fact that it still gave me a good entertaining value. There was only 2 matches that were really appalling to me, and the only reason why I gave it a B minus is because it was a lack of good wrestling in it and its whole persona. Like at the end of the night, John Cena versus Rollins, was a pretty decent match. The very beginning of the first with Owens and Ryback was a good match when it comes to watching wrestling wrestle. Everything else in between was just entertainment. So that's why I give it a B minus.
Out of the pay-per-view proper, there is 1, 2, 3.5 matches, which really didn't do it for me. The Sting and Rollins match being that half, and that's only because Sting was injured for probably about half of that match. But I also keep in mind he's a 50-year-old man wrestling, so it is what it is. Cena Rollins was good. Dud's New Day was was in my opinion the best of the night. I understand that in order to give KO the title, he had to face Ryback, but I would have preferred him face anyone but Ryback. And that's why I gave it a C, because I was into about half of the matches, a little bit under half of the matches. So
it's cool. We still love it. We still loved it.
So we're gonna do Raw before the break or after the break?
I think we should do it right after. I think we should give the audience a beautiful sound stage, and then we'll get right fresh into the bests.
Alrighty, well then, we will see you after the break.
Later, folks.
On behalf of Kane Snuka and myself, the Faded Saint, we would like to thank bensound.com for our opening and closing theme. If you're looking for something for your podcast, if you're looking for something for your YouTube video or any project, check out bensound.com. They have some great Creative Commons stuff there. And today, for the break, we've got another WWE mashup, courtesy of Daily X-Man. Go ahead and check him out. Check out his YouTube. Check out the WWE mashup. He is very prominently featured with his mashups. He's got a bunch of these. They're really good. But this is The Miz versus the Brian Kendricks Experience. Enjoy.
Awesome! I'm a man with a plan. There's a price to pay. I came to play. There's a price to pay. I'm a man with a plan. So listen up. Now the general masses. You ain't gonna learn it in your high school class. Because it ain't written down. And you know that it's true. There's a lot of famous people with the sound of the new and fame. They say
Welcome back to Off the Ropes, and this week is brought to you by the Clothes Rack. Go see Blue Pants and the Clothes Rack to have wonderful shopping and a wonderful time for low, low prices. The Clothes Rack. They really need to give us some better promos when they ask us to plug these things. At any rate,
Especially, it's shocking because I'm surprised Blueprints didn't bring her home location to clearance track.
no kidding. Yeah. At any rate, hey, we're back. I'm your boy, Kami the Faded Saint. That is Kane Super What? Snuka. And we're back, and we've got a lengthy list to go through here. Now, like we said before the break, we are going to very quickly touch upon Raw. We're only going to really talk about two things that happened, and then we're gonna have some fun, and then we're gonna get to the thing that both of us were really looking forward to, and that was NXT Takeover Respect.
Now I gotta tell you this much, Fade Sane, to give to the audience. Really, it's not more of like what happened on Raw versus more like what's happened in the last couple of weeks, I should say, and the whole of the two things that we're going to discuss mostly that's been going on for the entertainment side of wrestling. The first one we're going to definitely talk about is this whole split personality that's going on with Kane here. So let's get into business here on this. So apparently, Seth Rollins decides to go into the complaint department with the authority here on how Kane is apparently back, and he is now Demon Kane and going psycho bitch on him. To find out that Kane is back as corporate Kane, and apparently he doesn't know who this Demon Kane is either. So looks like we got a little bit of a split personality storyline going on with Kane, and I have to say it's probably been the most entertaining of Kane's career in a while.
It's been the most entertaining Kane's been in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hilarious because corporate Kane keeps getting goofier and goofier while simultaneously being like super creepy. And Demon Kane is Demon Kane. He's the Kane. He's Kane classic, as we should call him. He's the Kane you know and love, and he's take no shit, take no prisoners, kind of deal. I love it. I love the interactions he has had when they did the what was it when they brought the person from Human Resources to do the evaluation was hilarious, and he presented Seth with the severed head from his statue, and like it comes across as I spent like all night digging through a garbage dump to get it for you, and like you know Rollins is playing it perfectly. Even up to the point of Raw earlier in the week, where he handcuffed Kane to a post to keep him from corporate Kane, mind you, from disappearing. Because every time corporate Kane disappears, Demon Kane shows back up, and it's hilarious. It's some of Kane's best work in 15 years.
I gotta say this much. He also brought a lot of the classic Kane situations, like coming out from the ring. That was a really good one, especially since Rollins looked like he was literally prey, being snapped by an alligator, crawling and being driven back into the water to be eaten. Because that was great. It was one of the more favorable moments I've seen in a very long time when it comes to Raw itself. And the whole thing about the best part about this thing is how corporate Kane, sounds like this tidy smiles to ear kind of guy when it comes to talking, and all of a sudden when someone even mentions the Demon Kane around him, he gets a little bit more tense and psychopathic in what he says. Like if it is a demon, you should really watch out for him. Like kind of that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
It's working pretty well for him, and I'm really hoping this is speculation here, Faded Saint. I really hope it's not a retirement scenario for him, because there is a stipulation coming up with our next pay-per-view, and that is if the Demon Kane, because they are acknowledging this as two different people when it comes to Stephanie McMahon, if the Demon Kane, and I'm using air quotes right now, does not win the match against Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell, here comes the air quotes again, corporate Kane is not working for them anymore as part of a head of operations.
Hopefully, this is leading into Kane going back full time, or at least Kane's getting up there in age too. So
Yeah,
I wouldn't
Glenn.
be surprised if he became special attraction material.
Well, I can tell you this much: if Glenn retires, and by the way, that's Kane's real name, folks. If Glenn retires before his pseudo brother when it comes to wrestling, I don't know. That sounds like a problem.
We'll see. I think he might be transitioning into the part timer gig.
Big
Um,
Sue gig.
which brings us to the other thing that we wanted to mention here, and that is the Diva stuff. So pretty much right after Raw, and they'd kind of been teasing it, but pretty much right after Raw, what ends up happening is Paige and Charlotte with the title, and Becky come out,
And Ric Flair.
and Ric Flair, and Rick does like a tearful thing. Becky does a tearful thing, Charlotte does a tearful thing, and then Paige just goes off on the entire division. And I hated it. I mean, and it's pretty much just ever since then she's been back to her shtick pre-Diva Revolution, pre-Bella feud, I should say. And I know he didn't hate it at the time. I don't know if he hates it now, but I hated it. And again, that I will detail my reasons later.
Well, I called it.
You,
I
you
called it
oh
right.
no,
I told you right after it. She's gonna betray them. She's gonna make it all about
you
her.
absolutely 100% called that. And every time you said it's gonna happen, I was like, God, I hope not. And uh, it happened, and that was it's a thing. It's a thing, and now I guess she's having a feud with Natty, which don't get me wrong, woo, Natty's back, but um, at the same time, it's like really, this is where we're back here. Okay, um,
It's all right because you know when it comes to it, folks. It's what we want anyway out of the div. We want the divas to diverse after this whole thing. I hate the group thing to begin with, so hopefully, what I would really love to have is dissension amongst everyone. I would love to see Brie decide to be fed up that Nikki Bella is dealing with this stuff. I want Sasha to Banks to lose out on what's going on with Team Bad. I want her to actually take on Team Bad. I want Tamika gone. I don't think China.
she has never been, cause she's never been the same
Well, I
since
can tell
that
you
since
this.
that injury 2 or 3 years ago, before she came back as AJ's muscle. And even then, she wasn't wrestling a whole lot. She has just never been the same since that back injury that she took. And I
Well,
don't.
I can tell you this much, Faded Saint. Superfly China, which is what I nicknamed her. She's not really an effective wrestler. She's a muscle kind of wrestler, but she's just not qualified to amongst everyone else when it comes to how they're fighting, how their wrestling style is. It just makes her out of her element.
I agree. I mean, like I said, I thought she was pretty good back before her injury. You don't see her coming off the top rope anymore. It's a shame if she's been injured to the point that she's lost half of her move set. But there comes a point where you've just gotta you just gotta move on. And she's not doing a great job reinventing herself. She's just attaching herself as muscle to various.
Muscle milk.
But so yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know about Raw over the past few weeks. There's been some other stuff. They booked the New Day pretty solid. But again, the New Day is one of the best things going on the roster right now.
And if anything, folks, even though you watch us, even though you listen to us as a recap kind of situation, I do recommend following the New Day because they are one of the more talented tag teams, and they're not really talented in the sense that they're like better wrestlers or they're like equivalent to the Dudley Power. They're talented as far as utilizing their action as a faction. They're providing a good entertainment in the out when it comes to vignettes. The whole idea of them feuding with whatever they're versing helps. I think they took a good thing out of the playbook when it comes to Edge and Christian and also the primetime players, even though those guys faded into existence pretty fast.
They need to put those guys back on commentary. They need to get rid of JBL and Byron Saxton, and they need to put the primetime players on there with Michael Cole. Because
And they also need to make them do their vignettes like they used to. That was
yeah,
also great.
Titus O'Neil is money.
Hmm.
Money. on the on that headset. But we're getting a little bit away from us because we've still got a lot to go.
Well, I gotta make it a little faster for you because guess what, folks? Right now we're gonna do the lightning round, and today's subject for the lightning round is the Road to Hell Shore, or should I say Road to Hell Tour, when it comes to Brock Lesnar's special event that happened at Madison Square Garden over the last Saturday. Now, before we get into the lightning round, I do want to make my piece on this. And I got to ask you this question. Why did they call it Brock Lesnar's Road to Hell Tour if it wasn't the main event that night?
Same reason why they called it Beast in the East when they did the Japan thing, and he was like the mid card match against Kofi, which went about as long.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. But I have to say, when it
I mean,
comes to the matches,
I guess one New Day does equal one. The whole New Day does equal one Big Show, so it's about the
maybe,
same
just
thing.
maybe. All right, so here's the rules of how the lightning rounds work in this game here. We're gonna rattle off matches one at a time. Me and Fade Saint's gonna pick a match. We're gonna say a one sentence subject about the match, and then we're gonna go right to the next match. And we're gonna do that until all the matches for Madison Square Garden's main events has occurred. And we're gonna start off with the first one with Faded Saint. Go.
Oh, that was Sheamus and Rusev versus Dolph and Ziggler, who it was actually Dolph and Orton. Randy Orton just rates so low on my radar that he doesn't even get a place here. But they fooled me into this match. I'm pissed about it. It happened.
And of course, when it comes to that, the next match after that was Stardust versus Neville. One line, Red Arrow, FTW. Next.
Oh God, Team Bella versus Team PCB. It was the exact same match from Raw. The exact same match. The only thing is that the C and the B screwed over the P so that the Bellas could get the W.
Oh, right. And of course, we got KO versus Jericho. I got to tell you this much KO taking on Y2J is already worth it. But of course, KO for a win. Next.
Don't forget to mention Lance Storm was in the audience.
Mm.
But next was the Duds versus the New Day. Same match from NOC, from Night of Champions. Same ending. Like, exact same ending. Yeah. Next.
Big Show versus Lesnar. Exactly just like how it happened between Coffey and Lesnar when it comes to Beast from the East, except it was 3 minutes long. Next.
And that brought us to Cena and Rollins in a cage for the U.S. Championship belt. Good match. Kane comes out. Cena wins. You can't beat Superman.
And my folks, that was great. That was the lightning round. And of course, if you did feel free to know a little bit more about what went down, please check out the WWE Network. They actually have the whole event live right in their segment.
Honestly, you're better off just going with what we said. You really are. It wasn't that good.
Agreed.
It just
But
wasn't.
it leaves room for the best pay-per-view of the week.
Oh God, I was so in need of this pay-per-view after just Night of Champions, after the Madison Square Garden, after just the dissolution of Team PCB and just the entire handling of the Divas division. But we had NXT Takeover Respect, which took place last night. Now, the main theme of this is that they were doing the semifinals and the finals to the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, the first annual, and the history-making main event, which was Bayley versus Sasha, 30-minute Iron Man match. We will get to all of that, but can I say, do you want to get your thing about the tag teams out of the way first, or do you want to wait until the to the finale match? Because I know you had a little rant there about that.
I think we should save it for the mid so that way we can get a little surprise going for the peoples.
That's fine. So the first match was Finn Balor and Samoa Joe versus Dash Wilder and Dawson. Don't care what his last name is. I'm actually doing him a great disservice. Dash and Dawson are actually being billed as like the Brainbusters or the next Minnesota Wrecking Crew. They're actually a really good old school style tag team.
I will make a small rant though, because you know me being this five-time, five-time. 5 time, 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 5 time
I think you said that
tag
6
team
times.
champion. I think so, but I'm not sure. ICW champion.
I'll
That when
edit
it
it
comes
in post.
when
Go ahead.
it comes to that, tag team division is one of my favorite things of all time. I love when a good feud happens. I love when a good tag team comes together. But this match, this whole Dusty Rhodes tag team event, was worth contributing to not only Dusty Rhodes, but how good a tag team could be. Now, folks, Dash and Dawson has to be one of the more relevant and collegial style of when it comes to tag team wrestlers I've seen in NXT. And this match was totally what I call a job fest. The Dusty Rhodes Job Fest Tag Team Classic. Because, of course, Samoa Joe and Finn Balor wins.
Of course.
But to be honest, I believe that Dash and Dawson should have won. I think that they should have been in the finals to go against another tag team that we're going to discuss later. Because as far as the match goes, it was okay and it was really good for when it went, but it just didn't feel right that they won.
Yeah, the two single guys just coming together as a tag team didn't feel right. Once again, hamstringing one of the talent for the sake of slowing him down to the other talent. And I'm not talking about in a game way. It seemed like they genuinely were trying to slow Finn down for the later match. And they tried to start that in here as opposed to the way they did it in the Divas match at Night of Champions, which was just... And, you know, they tried to make a thing out of it. Once again, it's one of those really kind of deals. But, yeah, Finn and Joe, unsurprisingly, won against Dawson and Dash. And I like the match, but I'm with you in the camp of the wrong person won.
Well, I'm gonna go extreme here, and I know it's gonna sound a little off, but if you agree with me, that's awesome. I felt that the way this tag team classic went is kind of like what happened at WrestleMania when Santina won that women's brawl. That they just gave it to a man dressed as a woman. When it comes to that could have been a huge prestige moment for the women's division during that time, and they decided to make it into a joke and make a man win.
Maybe not as insulting as that was, because that was a pretty low point for the Divas division. I just kind of feel like they went for flash and flare over who this would have benefited the most. And, obviously, Finn Balor, the champion, and Samoa Joe, who is in the internet community darling, are not the people who winning this semifinal would have helped the most. But that leads us into the second semifinal match, which was the cardboard cutout of Baron Corbin and Rhino versus Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. Two thoughts straight out of the gate. First, Baron Corbin is the most exciting piece of cardboard since Steve Blackman.
And I like Steve Blackman's music too.
I like Steve Blackman's music, but I mean, Steve Blackman was a boring piece of cardboard.
Yes, he was.
And Baron Corbin is not much above that. And second, Chad Gable, I'm calling it right now, and this may not be something that comes to fruition for years. He is for real. When he did that freaking Code Red, picked up Corbin, all 300 pounds, and Chad Gable's a little guy, but he is all muscle, and he pulled him over, and just the way he presents his character, the crowd was chanting his name. Chad Gable is going to be the next Kurt Angle if they let him. He is that good. He is.
Damn straight. As a matter of fact, he is making that tag team happen, and they pushed it so well on them. And this is where I get mad, folks, because of course you know who won the cardboard cutout and Rhino.
Boring Corbin.
Yeah, and in this case, this is where my pet peeve comes in. This is my little rant that I was gonna say, but since we already cats out of the bag with the two who's gonna be fighting for the Dusty Tag Classic, this is it. Two non-tag team related people matches. We have 2 singles players tagging up and 2 other singles players tagging up and going for this classic. Now, I know that it's honorable to be part of it, but for something that's predestined, because we all know, folks, that wrestling has a predestination characteristic to it. You do know who's supposed to win, at least the people in WWE does. To give it to the singles people, and this is why I said the whole Santina comment, is kind of like how it is insulting how these great tag teams, and they give it to singles wrestlers. They could have gave it. They could. I could have easily seen Gable winning that tag team classic. I could have seen team. I could have seen them doing it. I could have seen them, Jordan and Gable, being the classic winners the whole time through. Even if it was versing Corbin and Rhino, it was just worth it. But to be awesome, if it was Dash and Dawson and Jordan and Gable for the classic,
Oh, that
that
would have
would have
made me
been
so
an
happy.
amazing tag team event. But no, we got singles tag team B,
Um,
which no way am I gonna dean out Rhino or Finn Balor or Samoa Joe. And I actually like Corbin. I like the whole rush kill win kind of situation. I guess because that brings me back to my old Goldberg loving days. But I don't know. But I could tell you this much: that match would have been so much more tear jerking and lovable if it was 2 true blue tag partners in a tag team match for that. I think it would have been like the end of Rocky. It would have been like the end of Rocky, how good that feeling was.
I agree with you 100%. It is a very rare misstep on the side of NXT.
Yeah, especially since, let's also make a point, folks, NXT has its own writers versus what the WWE main roster has, and we've countlessly pointed out how awesome NXT is, so we
So-
constantly give props to the writers.
So I mean, I will give them this one misstep. It's one misstep in what, like 6 pay-per-views that they've given us, and this is really the only time we've ever had to complain about that. I will point one other thing before we move on to the next match. Did you notice that the Chow was chanting Gable's name to Kurt Angle's old theme music?
No, I didn't catch this.
Because they were going Gable, 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 Gable. It was awesome. And I think the crowd, like, normally I don't like these indie crowds. It's one of the reasons why I quit watching TNA, is because they tend to be fans of their product, and that crowd in that one place that they're always at tend to become a character within themselves, and it tends to be to a detriment to the product. We see what it's done to TNA, but the crowd at Full Sail University keeps them honest, and they were spot on with that. That was absolutely hilarious. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch that match, and then just listen
I'm
to
totally
the tune.
Totally gonna.
But that will bring us to the next match, which was Asuka versus Dana Brooks with Evil Emma, with those really weird gloves Emma was wearing.
Yeah, but you know what? I wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on those fiery legs that Asuka was given.
Let me tell you, I'm not a big indie wrestler guy. I had heard a lot about this Asuka.
So let it be the record, folks. He doesn't like indie crowds or indie wrestlers.
No. I think indie crowds can be kind of snooty. I like indie wrestlers. I just don't have the time to follow them, you know. But I'd heard good things about Asuka, and this was the first time I got to watch her wrestle. Now, understand that yesterday I had to go do a couple of errands, so I was about an hour behind. But that's the lovely thing about the WWE Network. I get to watch it on my schedule. And I want to actually say here, I know you felt like you had accidentally spoiled the 2 tag team matches because you voiced your complaint right when I was in the middle of the first match. Do not feel bad, Kane. 2 minutes before you did, my brother texted me, voicing the exact same complaint. So I was not going to avoid that spoiler no matter what happened.
So true. So
so
so true.
so Asuka, very entertaining. She put Dana Brooke and Emma in her place, and that Asuka lock, ow! And just the way she was rolling through, like normally, like in these matches, when somebody rolls through a submission, that's usually another spot. Asuka was rolling through the submissions and was like putting another different variation of the submission every time that Dana Brooke rolled through. Very effective use, very effective debut. I felt.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Very much. And it was actually not a bad women's bout.
oh no, no, they gave him enough time. Emma made it interesting enough so that Asuka just didn't come in and just go to Dana Brooke.
I'm just glad that they put Eva Marie in the corner that night.
You know, Dana Brooks is not my favorite of the wrestler of the current crop,
Character wise or wrestling wise?
wrestling wise.
Really? Because I don't find her a bad wrestler. I
She's
just
an
don't like her
alright
character.
wrestler. I like Emma. I like Evil Emma better. I don't know. I've known people like Dana Brooks' character that might be tainting me a little bit on the character, souring just bad experiences with people like that. But I mean, very effective to because I mean, Asuka came in and with her credentials, I was expecting just to be just like a wipeout, but they kept it interesting. It was good. Once again, this is what happens when you pay a little attention. The build-up was nice, and the way everything went, I was very satisfied with the match.
Yeah, and you know what? I have to say it was pretty good for a women's match. Of course, it was not going to hold a candle to the main event that was going to happen that night. But I gotta tell you, the next match that came up, which is my new leader of the underdog kind of wrestler, and that is Apollo Crews, which by the way has the most amazing name ever.
I would have rathered if
And,
he was Terry Crews,
of course you would.
like Old Spice
Apollo,
commercial Terry Crews.
I
Like that would be awesome wrestling gimmick. Like he just screams, his head falls off, and
reach,
then
Sam, reach.
like his opponent explodes and he gets the pin. Nobody would know what would happen, but they would be entertained. But anyway, Apollo Crews.
I think so. Apollo Crews versus what you call Dolph Ziggler Jr., also known as Tyler Breeze. Now, Tyler Breeze has been, I don't like using the word job a lot. I know we use job for a lot of people, but I think they're just giving him the bumps of his storyline because he's been losing a lot lately. But I think it's because they're trying to do the true blue villain losing kind of situation for him. But I have to say, as far as it goes, Apollo Crews has since Brooklyn Takeover Brooklyn's gone, has become a very entertaining wrestler. I like his finisher. I like his move. He's quick in the ring. He doesn't feel sluggish. And with Tyler Breeze, with his technical value in his matches, made this whole thing pretty good for me, and I enjoyed every minute of it. So as far as that match goes, what I just I'm gonna take an off tangent moment here. What I just love about NXT is I feel like there's no match so far as we talked about, with the exception of my little pet peeve about how the tag team classic is going. Match for match wise, has still been a very good escalation. It hasn't winded down. Even the Asuka match, which I thought was gonna be their wind down until the mid cards were coming in, was
Hmm.
still pretty elevated. So this match kept on the elevation.
I agree. This is my thing with Tyler Breeze. I like where Apollo Crews has gone since his debut. I wasn't very high on him in his debut. I was like, that's a thing that happened. This is a much better match than his debut match. My thing with Tyler Breeze is that he has been there from the beginning. And I don't know if it's just the gimmick they don't think is going to play well in the main event, kind of like Adam Rose. His gimmick didn't really translate very well to the main roster. I don't know what it is about him. But they really need to just either call him up, change his character, or send him on his way. Because he's kind of gotten to his expiration date here. He's been there since Seth Rollins was there. He's been there since the inception of NXT. That is measured in years now.
But the NXT crowd loves him, so I'm not quite sure if I agree with you there.
I think for his career, they need to figure out what he's going to do. because something obviously is not going right if he's still in NXT after 3 years. Seth was brought up. The only reason Sami Zayn hasn't been brought up was because of his injury. Kevin Owens was there, I don't know if you realize this, a grand total of 4 months. That was it. That is all Kevin Owens was there before he was called to the main roster. And Kevin Owens is exceptional, but still. And Tyler Breeze has been there for 3 years. Adam Rose was called up to the main roster before Tyler Breeze. Emma, old bubbly Santino sidekick.
You made me a good counterpoint by saying that Adam Rose went up. I think they're not doing that to Tyler Breeze because they don't need another Adam Rose, where they think, oh, he's so talented and so fun to watch on here, let's bring him up to the main roster and see what happens. I think they're trying to brew him so that way they know when it comes to time, he's ready. I honestly think he could be the next Chris Jericho when it comes to the antagonizing and wrestling style format. I just think that right now, if they just put him in the middle of this whole situation with the mid card battle for the IC belt and the whole situation with everyone else wrestling, like Cesaro getting botched, just sitting there doing nothing, I don't think it's ready for him. I think he's perfect just where he is, and I think maybe after WrestleMania 31, maybe we'll see Tyler Breeze show up.
Okay. Final thought, just an off the top of my head thing. They need to, if they really want to bring him up, and they don't want to change his gimmick, they need to do it in such a way that was like when Carlito debuted, who apparently, rumor is, Carlito may be showing back up because they don't really have a whole lot of Latin Americans around anymore. Not any bankable single Latin American stars, but if they're going to stick with Tyler Breeze as presented, what they need to do is they need to have him come in, and ironically enough, Carlito did it against John Cena for the U.S. belt when he debuted, and have him win the John Cena U.S. Open Challenge. And if you do that, bam, instant superstar, and just have him keep up the Open Challenge as a condition of him being the U.S. Championship. I believe they should make that a stipulation of being the champion, just because that makes that title interesting again.
And also, we don't know if they're going to win. We know with Cena, he's always going to win, and the only time he lost was because it wasn't on the line, or because it was temporarily hold on to by someone else.
Exactly.
But yeah, I agree, and of course, because of that, even though that was one of my favorite matches, the next one is, of course, the ranting of the Tag Team Open Classic.
Finn Balor and Samoa Joe versus Baron Corbin and Rhino. The story of this match was Finn Balor's leg was screwed up in the match before. They had shown a couple of vignettes of him getting it looked at, and that was pretty much Corbin and Rhino taking advantage of that, and Finn playing Ricky Morton while Samoa Joe tried to get in. I thought the match was all right. Baron Corbin is not necessarily great in these matches that last longer than 5 minutes. Rhino carried that team for the most part. Samoa Joe did great on his part, but ultimately, this is a Dusty Rhodes tag team, and we were paying tribute, so you knew this was going to be a feel-good moment. And Finn Balor and Samoa Joe pulled it out over Baron Corbin and Rhino with the Muscle Buster coup de grace.
That is actually one of the more entertaining tag specials I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
even though they're not a tag team. I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, it's just a combination of their finishers. The match itself was a pretty decent match, I thought, for the four of them, especially when they were slowing Finn down for Baron Corbin, because I don't think they were slowing him down for Rhino. I think they were slowing him down for Baron Corbin, or as I like to call him, Boring Corbin.
Very much. And I have to say, when it comes to everything going on with them, the only thing I have to say that I liked about the whole thing, even though I had my little thing about how there wasn't all tag teams, was the end. It was nice to see that they came out and they paid tribute to Dusty Rhodes. His sons came out. It was nice to see Goldust out of his uniform there. He was in the back if you didn't see him, but he was there. He was there. He didn't talk much. He was Cody's night.
He's a big dude.
Oh yeah, he's huge.
A lot of people don't realize how big he is.
Huge.
And it was nice
taller than his father and everything. Yeah.
It was nice to see Cody.
Nice to see the mother. That was nice.
Yeah, nice to see
his mother and sister.
Cody and Eden together, because as we've said in the past, Eden is Miss Stardust.
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised the Cosmic Queen didn't come out yet.
I think it's because she's like a mic person. I would
Is
love
that
to
our is
see
that
that.
our new prediction though? Is
I
that
would
our new prediction?
I would love to see that happen. I would love to see if Eden's got the chops. I don't know if she's got the desire to do it, or if she just wants to be like like an on-air personality from a interviewer type ways. I hold to this point. This is kind of off topic, and then we'll get right back on the topic. I hold true to the fact that one of these days, Tom Phillips is going to snap at one of these guys he's interviewing on the pre-shows, and he is just going to kill them outright. I think it's going to happen because he is always smarting off to these guys. He's the only one that shows any personality in those interviews. Anyway, that's just my little side tangent. It was a wonderful moment. Go back and see the match. Go back and see the ending. Cody had some wonderful words to say. And that brings us to what we were waiting for, what we have been waiting for the last month. And that was the 30-minute Iron Women's match for the NXT Women's Championship. Bayley versus the boss, Sasha Banks. And I cannot say enough good things about this match.
I don't think I could say any bad things about this match, and you would think there would be some that's in there, but there really isn't. You might have a little bit of peeves, like I have a little bit of a peeve about how Sasha won her second pinfall, or I should say second victory over Bayley in the Iron Women's match. But other than that, it was just
The first victory was
unbelievable.
a little irking too because it seems like they're trying to make this eye rake thing a thing now because she got an eye rake and then rolled her up and they were like, oh
That's
no,
fine.
the
It's
eye
still a one,
rake,
two, three. I just don't like the count out mentality. I hate it.
which I understand. And we were talking about this pre-show. I said it harkened me back to the Lost Ultimate Submission match, which is basically an Iron Man match with only submissions and DQs counting. And Kurt Angle beating the crap out of Chris about he who shall not be named. I almost said it. And got in trouble. Who shall not be named with a chair took a disqualification, but that played into the strategy. Could have done a little bit better with that in this instance, but I thought they were going to go to overtime because that's how most of these end up. Is oh no, it's even. What do we do now? And then somebody's caught off guard and it's overtime, and it's usually a cheap fall.
Here's a thought. Do you think if you say his name 3 times, does he come out of the grave and kill all the firstborns of wrestlers?
No. Actually, I think if you say his name 3 times, he just comes out and makes himself a cup of coffee in 30 seconds and then laughs and then goes back into the grave. Let's see some of you guys figure out what that obscure reference is. Ha!
Comments below.
Comment
But
if you get it.
but as far as it goes, everything that it comes down to, this women's revolution. I love how they say in women's revolution for NXT because technically there was never a revolution. It was already there. And I have to say when it comes to what's going on with that match, it works so well to the point that I'm hoping that this isn't the last time we see a women's main event like that.
Oh, the last 7 minutes of that match were just completely nail biting, especially when you got down to that 2 minutes when Sasha put on the bank statement
And held her.
and held her like she was held in like
And she was doing the foot stomping to the hands. That was my favorite.
oh, and there's the psychology from what Bayley was doing in the beginning of the match and how that played into how the match ended, and that almost Rings of Saturn like move that Bayley did at the end to finally get that last fall with 3 seconds
Which,
left,
yeah. Oh man.
and then uh, I mean, what else can you say about this match? I mean, the entire locker room emptied out at the end. Trips was out there. They gave flowers to Sasha, who was bawling
Both of
because
them did, but yeah, Sasha
and
definitely took it hard.
took it hard. And it's not she was bawling that she lost. She was bawling because of what it meant. And I'm gonna get into that in a second. And he gets into the ring and gives Bayley another thing of flowers, and it was just one of those standing ovations amongst the crowd, her peers cheering, her holding the title in one hand, her holding the flowers in the other hand, and that's how we left the pay-per-view. Before I get to this next part, letter grade for the pay-per-view.
Well, I have to say one of the most beautiful moments at the end of that moment was the crowd saying "Thank you, Sasha,"
Yes.
because they knew that this was Sasha's last time on NXT because she's officially going to be on the roster.
Yep.
And it was they they go very classic with NXT. Like if a champion loses the match, they get one last rematch, just like how Kevin Owens' last match with NXT was at Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And they did such an easy transition. I really hope that they do what Kevin Owens they do to Sasha. I hope they make her the women's champ very soon. And
I hope
because
so.
of that, I can't give this grade any higher. A plus. That whole event was just too tasty for me. A plus was all the way through, and this is me being very sincere. This is me being out of character right now. That has to be the most passionate pay per view since Brooklyn Takeover, and it sucks that I have to say that NXT's pay per views are the most passionate right now. And I say passionate because there's a difference between passion and quirky, and a lot of times the moments in WWE is more quirky than passion. Like the whole thing at Night of Champions with Kane was passion. Was not passion. It was quirky. But with Sasha and Bailey, that was a passion match, and
I
and everyone saw it.
I will not
A
argue with that.
plus.
A plus. Pet peeves aside, top to bottom, match by match, it was a wonderful pay-per-view, and any pay-per-view that can end on a high note, the last part of the pay-per-view, the match and the last thing that you see will always be the greatest influence of you, and the Iron Woman match by itself.
And the MVP of that night, by the way, was a audience member, and that was that little girl that loves Bailey so much.
I
When
think that's
Sasha
a
got her
I think
when
that's a
Sasha got
relation of hers.
no, they're not. They're
Are you
not. They're
sure?
just
Because they were with her dad and mom. Hey, she was with her dad and
no.
mom.
They were huge fans. No, that's their corner. That's their corner. That
Huh?
they WWE gave when what's her name won the belt in Brooklyn.
Hmm.
They actually gave that little girl the opportunity to hang out with Bailey when they came back to Florida. Got to go down the ring with an entrance. Gave her own belt.
Oh, right on.
It
Is
was
that
it
what?
was like
Okay. I
so they did a huge thing for being like the number one fan of Bailey. Like because the reason why is because the parents bought every seat ticket available for NXT in that corner.
wow.
So the hardcore fan she is. She was crazy when she won against Brooklyn. They had a video of it and everything. Because of that, she is now the number one fan of Bailey.
Oh, I
And the MVP moment of that night is when Bailey got slammed into the wall and was getting DQ'd. It was getting count outed, and they panned to the girl, and she was bawling on her father's shoulders.
I think that was legit.
No, that was very legit, but that was like
Yeah.
an MVP moment when it comes to when a
Oh
crowd
no,
member
no, no.
gets so intense.
Oh no, absolutely. And
I was actually expecting them to pull the girl out of the ring into the ring at the end of the night. That's how much I thought it was gonna be that.
well, it was supposed to be Bailey's moment, and they did the right thing. And again, NXT respect, both of us A plus. There. I mean, and it's kind of ironic that it was called respect because that's exactly what I feel has been lacking from this Divas Revolution. And Kane has talked about it earlier on in the show, and it pains me so much that I was all about it. I was all about it 3 months ago, and then I saw what was happening, and it annoys me to no end because I can see what they're doing. They've turned the Divas Revolution was basically a stopgag. Their weird vendetta against the Punks, against the Brooks, AJ and Phillip, or CM Punk, or whatever. And they, again, Nikki Bella is not our favorite wrestler. She's decent, but they have done her no favors. That match at Night of Champions was so unwatchable because they had to slow Charlotte down for Nikki. And Charlotte, we know, can go better. I didn't like this faction idea, but I was willing to go along with it. And my problem with it, and the reason why I was hoping they weren't going to do it, is do it the way that they did with immediately Paige turning on everyone, was because It shows lack of respect. We know what Sasha can do. Sasha is sandbagged with Naomi and Tamina. We saw what she did at Brooklyn Takeover, and then she was practically invisible at the pay-per-view the next night. We saw what she did tonight. Back on Raw earlier on in the week, just 2 days ago. Charlotte, we've seen what she can do. But up against Nikki Bella, they've had to hamstring her. Paige is a good wrestler, but now she's right back where she was beforehand. That is the difference between the main roster Divas division and their Divas title, which personally, in my opinion, isn't worth the tin it's printed on, and the NXT women's division. Because as long as the Bellas are in there, as long as they've got this reality show in there, it is always, and they've proven this to me, it is always going to be the Total Divas division. They're not going to let Bayley up into the roster and like Paige and Natty and Charlotte and Becky and Sasha have the matches that they were having in NXT, the barn burners, the matches that culminated in a history-making event where the women closed out the show. And you can sit there and you can say, oh, it's an NXT show. This is the future of pay-per-view, guys. And a special event is a special event. And they got to close it out, and they tore the house down. That is why Sasha was crying. That is why Bayley was crying, because this is historic. This is them being given the ball. And when they get to the main roster, the rug is going to be pulled out from under them. That is why I am not with the Divas Revolution anymore. That is why I can't stand what they are doing. That is why I absolutely hated when they had Paige turn. If they had let that play out until Survivor Series, I would have been okay with it. Because at least that showed that there was a plan beyond it. But the moment Nikki had that record, bam. And that's why it depresses me. That's why it just makes me angry. Because their main show still has no more respect for women than they did beforehand. And they fooled me into thinking they did. So that's my piece there. I mean, man, I don't know what else to say.
I respect it, though.
Yeah.
I give you that.
So that brings us to the last little bit of the show. We're going to do some quick predictions here because I know we're running long. A lot happened. But we do have Hell in a Cell coming out. And we do know, at the very least, we are going to have... And we're going to do this lightning round style. Quick predictions. What do we think? Brock Lesnar? No, we'll do that one last. New Day versus Duds. That's happening in Hell in a Cell. We know that.
Very much. I think that when it comes to the Kane match that's going to happen between Demon Kane and Seth Rollins, I think that when it comes to that, I think either Kane is going to DQ, so he could DQ for win, or they actually will give him the belt, but I doubt it very much.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
or it's Glenn's last match.
I don't think they're going to give it. You've heard my theory on the last podcast. I think they're going to try and run with Seth until he can beat Punk's record. They've given me no reason so far to think otherwise.
Legit.
New Day Duds Part 3.
He's hoping.
Part 2. I don't count MSG as Part 2. So, Part 2, we'll say.
Well, I could say this much. I called Kane versus Rollins when I first saw them doing the Demon Kane thing, so that's all I care about.
Not even Lesnar and Taker?
I doubt it.
Wow.
I don't think Undertaker's ready.
He has hobbled out of his last couple of matches, hasn't he?
Yes, I don't think he has the ferocity.
Yeah.
I think Lesnar's too OP on him. I think when he does his suplexes, he can't handle it as much. That's how I look at it.
The fan in me wants to say they give it to Undertaker, but they've almost got to give it to Brock to build up his momentum if they're going to seriously have Brock vie for the title again at WrestleMania, which is where I think they're going with it. Um, yeah, we've run long, man. The other matches are just kind of that Divas thing just took me straight out of it. I hate to be a bummer. I hate to be a bummer, guys, but blame the WWE. Blame Stephanie. It's her fault. All right, well, with that, we are going to bring this to a close. We'd like to thank once again bensound.com for our opening and closing theme. If you would like to ask us a question, give us a comment, tell us how we're doing. I am at Faded Saint on the Twitter. I am commieSite.tumblr.com on the Tumblr. And any last words?
No, folks, I think we actually had a wonderful thing. I actually appreciate the lightning round. We might bring that back next time. Who knows? Otherwise, I love every moment that we are here with you because I know that when it comes to us, our truths get heard, whether it be from the secret agents of the WWE or the loving fans that watch us here at home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, for Kane Snuka, I'm your boy Kami the Faded Saint, and we'll see you on the next show.
Later, folks.